Welcome to another weekly market update. February the 19th, Sunday, after markets closed on the 17th on Friday. So this is where we look at the overall market. What I mean by the overall market is, the Dow Jones, the S&P 500. What is the overall market doing? Because one of the biggest lessons as a trader you'll find is that, regardless of how good your individual stock trades look, everything is subject to what the overall market's doing. Our individual stock trades are like ships on the ocean of the overall market. So in this section every week we pay attention to, what's the long-term trend and the short-term trend of the overall market. I'm starting this week with a 5-year chart or multi-year chart here of the Dow Jones Industrial. Reason I've focused on the Dow Jones, even though it's not that important because there's only 30 stocks in it, and I usually look at the S&P 500, is it's just extremely extended right now. I'm not going to get in the way of a speeding train, but this is remarkably high above its 40-week moving average, which is the blue line here. It's undoubtedly, I'll give it to the market. It's somehow carved out a brand new market out of all of the concerns of the global economy and debt and so on out there. It's just the market's just absolutely gone ballistic, and I on what foundations I'm struggling with. As I say, I'm not going to get in the way of it. And the 20,000 mark, I told you weeks ago, was a psychologically important number, and it's shot way above that. 20,624 right now, and so very important. And there's the S&P 500. Similar picture, perhaps not so extreme. If I zoom in here on the just the 3-year chart, there's the S&P 500. And there's the Dow Jones, and way above its 40-week, and things always do come back to average. So as I've been commentating on for the last few weeks, I've been putting some long trades in, and riding this trend upwards ever since the election in the States, and that's been doing very well. Hard to see how we're not going to have some kind of pullback at some point. I've kept saying that, and even if the pullback's just back to around 2,300 here on the S&P 500, that's all well and good. But you see how the RSI here is in this shaded area up here. It rarely stays up there for very long regarding the overall stock market, as you can see here. Not to say it's going to go through the floor. But short-term trend, I'm going to be cautious here. I wouldn't be adding to any existing positions. I'm not going to be shorting anything either. But bull market or not, even in the strongest bull markets, pullbacks happen and they can be violent and they're very healthy. But right now, I think it's time to ride your winners and have some stop losses tight behind them. And certainly not shorting this market or looking for individual stocks to short, but I wouldn't be adding at this time. So I'm kind of neutral, but the short-term trend is all the indicators are long-term and short-term are definitely upwards, but I'm growing increasingly cautious now because the market is going a bit nuts. So I will speak to you next week.